In a previous video, I showed you the physical side of my crazy home network, home lab. But today we're going to look at the more the virtual side of actually what's running on my home lab. So first of all, just remind you of the specs of my main server, which is that sort of 2U rack server I've got running in the garage. Well, it's got dual Intel Xeon E5 2620 CPU running at 2 GHz, both with 6 cores and 12 threads, giving a total of 24 logical processors. It's also got 192 gigabytes of RAM. That's made up of 24 sticks of 8 gigabyte DDR3 1600 megahertz RAM there. So it's quite nice. And I've got two 500 gigabyte SATA SSDs in there as well. And also on the PCI side of things, I've got a 1 terabyte NVMe drive on the PCI card. Also got a Solar Flare SF3299021 dual 10 gigabit NIC. That's a mouthful. So yeah, that provides the networking over an LC fiber connections. I've got 2 fiber connections going into there for redundancy. Also got a Dell H310 running in IT mode. That's based on the LSI 9211 8i spec. So that's a like a running in the like a HBA sort of card where I've got that's connected to 4 12 terabyte WD Gold hard drives. So let's have a look then what I've got running on this sort of beast, as I call it. Let's have a look. Okay, so I'm running VMware on here, as you can see. VMware ESXi, and I'm running the 6.7.0 version. And I've just recently updated it to the November update. So it's pretty up to date. So you can see there we've got these CPUs, nice, and a memory, and so forth. And you can see at the moment I'm using about 4.3 gigahertz of CPU there. I'm using 111 gig of my RAM and about 1.33 terabytes of storage according to that, but I'll come back to that in a bit. So yeah, it's basically running on like a bare bones sort of Intel board. It's not like a Dell or anything like that. It's just like a sort of a generic brand. But yeah, it runs nice. And I've also got BMC on there, so I can see exactly what's going on here remotely. As you can see, it's drawing 175 watts currently. So yeah, averaging 178 watts, so not too bad. So that's nice. You can do all sorts in here, like remote control it, and yeah, it's quite nice. Okay, so virtual machines, I've got 16 on there, but I'm only running around 11 on there currently. I'll just quickly whiz through them and look at some interesting ones in more detail. First one is a Windows server. It's my disaster recovery file store. Well, that's what I named it. Essentially does some of my backups there, and nothing really exciting. I'm using Theme to back up my VMware infrastructure, so it works quite nicely. I've got one of my domain controllers. That's my secondary domain controller. That's still on Windows Server 2012 R2. I need to get around to replacing that with a 2019 box. That's a redundant one now. So is that? That's my old main server, my old domain controller one. I've got a PRTG server on there. So yeah, I run PRTG to monitor my network, which is quite handy, especially when you're out and about and you get the notifications coming through. Yeah, so that's really nice. I've got another test machine there, that's currently powered off. I've got a Windows 10 machine that I keep in the We've got different VLANs, which I'll show you in a minute. So yeah, my Windows 10 network, which is sort of off the network per se, it's off my main network. It's on a just a raw connection, so you can do stuff without impacting your main network. I've got an Ubuntu server not got powered on at the moment. I've got a 2019 Windows 2019 box running IIS for my web hosting to run both my websites. Got a NAS on here. Yes, I will go into that one in more detail because that's my main NAS. That is a true NAS installation. I've got another server here, another 2019 server that's running my Unify application. That's all it does for Unify network, which only got a 1 AP at the moment. I've got a Kemp load balancer virtualized running on this box here. And I've got Plex again running on a server here, the Windows 2019 box, and I've got a Pi holder. That's running a virtual appliance. It's quite nice, block adverts and other nasties. It's quite nice. And I've got my recently built 2019 domain controller, replaced that one up there. So that's quite nice. And I built another web host just in case, just as you do. Not currently in use at the moment. So those are just an overview of my VMs. Let's have a look at the storage. So the storage you can see here, I've got 3 SSDs, 2 of 500-ish gigs SATA SSDs as data stores. So I've got some of the VMs running on there. And I've got an NVMe one there, and that is a data store. That's obviously the very fast one. Call it P1 for platinum because it's very fast. It's very nice. You can see the different adapters there that we've got. Quite nice. My devices. And look at the networking. So yeah, it's got the 4 gigabit built-in NICs. I'm not using any of them at the moment. I'm only using the 2 SFC fiber ports on that solar flare card. So they're either 2 10 gig NICs, and I've got them uplinked onto this vSwitch 0 here. So it's sort of like a redundant setup with 2 different paths. So if one goes down, then the other one take over. Redundancy, very good. And yes, I got some VLANs on here as well. So yeah, some nice management VLAN, and yeah, all sorts of crazy stuff going on here. You can see, yeah, sort of trying to get my network in order. But it's very nice that you can just add them all in, and you've got there's a trunk port there if you ever need it. VLAN 495. Out of interest, that's the trunk port. So yes. So that's the overview of that. So yeah, I've got a NAS on here, so I'll bring that up now. So yeah, some people probably cringe if I say I've got a true NAS installation running virtualized on VMware. I did used to have it on a physical box, and indeed I have another one running on a physical box in here on the HP micro server. That's my backup one, and that's just running directly in true NAS. But I decided to run it virtualized. It's more about being efficient with what I've got, and trying to be more power efficient as well, rather than multiple boxes running. I did it as a test first to see if it obviously worked. Just plow into it, and touch wood, it's sort of being rock solid. So yeah, let's take a look. So yeah, this is my true NAS installation, which is running virtualized in that VMware. So what I've done is I've given it 64 gigs of memory, and to give it a bit more of a ZFS cache, and I've got obviously given it a virtual NIC or 2. I'm only using the one actually at the moment. I've actually passed through that Dell HBA adapter. I've actually passed it through to the VM directly, so there's no little performance loss there. so that's what hopefully gives it that bit more performance. And what I've also done as well, I've given it a cache drive. I get it a 500 gigabyte virtual disk, which is running on the NVMe. That's for the cache, and that does work very nice. I can copy files across my network. When it's in that cache, it runs at full rack, you know, always saturate my 10 gig link to my workstation here, so that is really nice. So yeah, it's just a standard thing. I've got, you know, a few storage pools, and yeah, they work nice. And like I say, I've got a replication to that a HP microserver, also running a true NAS installation, so it replicates automatically every night. So let's have a look at a little bit more detail, what I mentioned just before, the PRTG server. So PRTG, if you don't know, it's essentially a monitoring platform. It's where you can add sensors and monitor pretty much everything that's going on in the network using sort of like SNMP and other such things. It's really cool, and you can get a free account where you can get up to sort of 100 sensors. Yeah, it's really good. So let's take a look. So this is my PRTG. I'm using 84 of my 100 free sensors. So this is what you see when you log in as an administrator. Yeah, I need to do an update. But effectively, you can scan your network, or you can add devices in manually. It will automatically detect things, so it will detect what device is, what it can tell you, or you can obviously manually add and remove sensors. When you've got the 100 sensor limit, you have to be a bit more picky with what you choose there. But yeah, essentially this is my sort of setup. It's quite nice, and you can see it tells you, like, you know, what's down at the moment, or what's warning, and what's okay, and you can pull sensors. You can get a mobile. You can get a mobile app through your phone as well. So if you're out and about, like I said, you can get like alerts, and you can check on your installation if you allow it out. Obviously, I've got mine allowed out for the network through that Kemp load balancer and on my own domain. So let's, and this is another cool thing you can do actually, is something called a magic map on here. This is just one I created. Obviously, you can customize it the heck you want. So I've got essentially things that I like to know, and just as a glance, so I can see traffic total on one of my fiber lines here. That's between the garage, aka data center, and my comms cabinet in here. And you can see at the moment I'm pulling through about just over 4 megabits a second, and you can see traffic in and out. This one here, port 23, is actually showing the raw internet speed that's being used, so I can see how much my bandwidth is being used in and out, which is really handy. And just underneath it here, I have a historical graph. I think it's like a couple of days worth of this, my port 23 on my internet traffic, so I can see what's been happening to my internet traffic in the past couple of days. So it'll tell you, if you see like suddenly a big spike down with a red, it's gone down completely. Or you can see, when it's been sort of maxing out here. Yeah, and then I've got my down sensors here, so I can see at a glance what is currently down on my network or sort of needs my attention. But I do like the ability, especially being able to see the bandwidth. It's handy to figure out things, like, why is my internet going slow, or even certain streaming services. There's certain things you can see that, you can press the information button, you can see, what quality it's streaming at. But others, especially on these newer smart TVs, don't tell you that information. So it's quite handy looking at that. You can see, so actually I am getting an Ultra HD stream, because it's pulling through like 20 megabits a second on the iPlayer or something. But it's really interesting seeing those sort of stats. But yeah, so PRTG, go and check out as well. And like I said, I've got a Kemp load balancer running as a virtual appliance on there. So let's take a look at what I've got running on that. See you in a bit. So yeah, I've got my both my websites running off it, and PRTG and Plex also sits behind it. So that's really nice. Yeah, so I learned that off Network Chuck's video. I'd highly recommend looking at that if you get a chance. Yeah, it's just a nice way of obviously having to mess around with, you know, enterprise level stuff for free. And yeah, it sort of fitted in with what I wanted to achieve here. I know you could do it different ways, but it works this way. So yeah, it's quite nice having different services and just having port 443 open to the interweb. And yeah, and obviously you can see I use Cloudflare as my sort of DNS and certificate management there. So there we go. Yeah, so that was just a little look there at my the virtual side of my sort of home network, home lab. So hope you enjoyed that, and hope you join me for the next video. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.